Hey, Michael. All right, let's get started here. So my name's Steven Sorensen. I'm a Director of Product of Integrations here at Smartling, and I'm excited to be with you guys today to share our new integration for Salesforce Commerce Cloud. We have a couple of other Salesforce integrations, and this is a great addition to the suite of integrations we have with Salesforce, so we're excited to bring it to the market. I'm joined here with Michael Stevens. Let's go ahead and switch the slides here. So Michael, you want to take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yes. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everybody. I'm Mike Stevens, Senior Solution Consultant with Smartling. So I work very closely with both the product teams and our sales teams to really work with customers to understand specific integration and kind of technical requirements around translation. So it's good to be kind of talking to everybody today about Salesforce Commerce Cloud.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Nice to have you on with me today. So let's continue here. So we got an agenda for the webinar today. Michael's going to go through a handful of slides here, getting us started and talking about what you have to go through to basically get the integration up and running and configured, and then he'll hand it over to me, and I'll go through some of the use cases and the content types that we support in Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and then we'll do a demonstration and talk about some things to note, and followed by some questions and answers. And so we're hopefully you guys have some questions for us today. So let's continue forward here. Go ahead, Michael. Let's have you kick it off here.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, it's probably a good place to start is actually why do we need a connection to Commerce Cloud in itself? You know, the big demand is obviously a lot of companies going global nowadays, and being able to provide the content in native languages to all of their consumers. You know, we know from research, especially from organizations like CSA, that over 70% of people don't buy unless that content is provided to them in their native language. So it's very important to really go through for global organizations that are offering e-commerce solutions to really be able to provide all content, product information, things like that in the native language to really get all of their customers on board. So when we think about especially Commerce Cloud being able to integrate directly with Smartling, we've really broken it down and made it as simple as possible to directly integrate with Salesforce. And it's really a three-step process. Prepare Salesforce Commerce Cloud for that integration and that localization. Then actually set up the Smartling project to be able to actually connect to Salesforce and make all of that content available. And then obviously the last bit, make it as simple as possible to request that content to be translated and have that direct integration back for all of that content to flow seamlessly and smoothly throughout the process. So if we kind of look at that and how that looks, without a connection, it's a very kind of multi-step process in going through and requesting product information to actually be translated and localized. When we look at it without, you have to create and prepare Commerce Cloud for internationalization and localization, set up all the relevant fields. Then we've got to actually prep that source content, manually prep the source content. I think we jumped a slide there. Let's just jump back. So we've got to manually prep that source content, create that in there, and then actually be able to download that from Commerce Cloud into the relevant files, upload those into the Smartling platform, then request it for translation. Once the translations actually get complete, you're getting those notifications, and then you're downloading them back from the TMS, and then manually uploading them again to Salesforce. So it's a very manual process. The great thing now is with this Commerce Cloud connector, it's a fully hosted connector. I'm really able to, like with a lot of the Smartling connectors, simplify the entire process and really break it down just into those three steps. Create the content, actually then search for that, request it to be translated within Smartling, and then have all of those translations automatically synced back into Salesforce. So really, once you've got the connections done, it's a one-step process. Request the content to be translated. Everything's then going to flow in a seamless manner through the workflow and then the translation process, and then send it back to Commerce Cloud directly. So like what's involved in those steps and actually getting that set up? And kind of like I said, it's a real simple 3-step process. So when we look at that, obviously preparing Salesforce Commerce Cloud, what is actually involved when getting Commerce Cloud prepared? The first step is really understanding the fields and the products, the pages that are going to be set up for localization, and setting those relevant fields up in Commerce Cloud for localization. You can see here just on this, when you're looking at those particular field setups for those products, you can see that little globe next to each field. That means it's essentially a localizable piece of content on that product for Salesforce. Once you've set up what pieces of content need to be localized, you just have to go into the settings within Commerce Cloud itself in Salesforce and get the relevant API keys to enable Smartling to connect. So prepare it, you get in your API keys. That's probably going to come from the IT side of things. And then we go on to the next step, actually setting up Smartling to connect. And the first part of that is just creating that Smartling project as a Commerce Cloud project. Once we've done that, set up the languages within the project setting, we can go in, actually then just input that API key information in the Smartling platform to connect back to Commerce Cloud. That's why we create that API key information in Salesforce, and then we input it here to connect Smartling directly to Salesforce. That's done, and then we just set up the languages within that configuration and how we want it to go back into Salesforce. So we'll set up all of our configuration for the languages, and then Smartling is essentially connected. It's ready to go. We've got everything there. So the final process, which is always ongoing, requesting translations. So within Smartling, the entire translation process is available within a single platform, a single view in a single window. We can go into Smartling, we go to the project, we go to our Commerce Cloud, and we can see all of our projects and products directly within Smartling. We can select which ones need to be translated, which ones have to be localized, and request them directly there in the Smartling interface. We create those as a translation request. They will flow through all of the relevant translation steps that we need and we've got configured within the workflow. As soon as that translation workflow completes, automatically those translations are synced directly back up into Commerce Cloud, really finishing that whole entire translation process. So simple, request, translate, push back. Very simple and easy to use. So with that, I'm going to throw that back to Stephen here to talk about really the supported content types now within the connector itself.
Thanks, Michael. Cool. So let's talk about the supported content types that exist inside of Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And through our interviews and research, we've determined that there's 3 primary content types that we wanted to support. And the first one is going to be products. Your different products you're selling it through your e-commerce site. You're going to want to translate those. You're going to have a set of fields on those that you want to get localized. And then you're going to also have, product variants, kind of spin-offs of those products, of those base products. And then you'll want to translate all the variants. So all of that's supported for translation. Categories are essentially a way of organizing, your content inside of your catalog. So in your catalog, you're going to be able to put content into different categories, and you may want to translate those categories for various purposes. And so we've enabled the integration to support the translation of categories. Lastly, there's really 2 types of pages that live inside of Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And the one that we can support today is going to be the standard old method of creating the pages, which is via the content assets section. And these essentially are integrated, and you're able to search and find those pages and send those for translation. So we're going to walk through the use cases, of each one of these and describe, the process for each one. So let's take a look here. We'll start with the products. So we have, translation of products, translation of pages, and translation of categories as our 3, main use cases that we see clients wanting to translate here. So let's start with products. So inside of Salesforce, you're going to, create new products. You're going to have all of the fields configured the way you want. As Michael mentioned, you have ability to go into the product type that you're creating and configure which fields on there are localizable. And you'll see the little globe next to each one of those fields. And our integration, when it pulls that content in, is going to read those fields, understand which ones are localizable, and only export the content from those localizable fields. So you're not translating, every field on there. You're translating only the fields that you really need localized. Inside of Smartling, you're going to have an interface that you can go and sort by products. You can even sort by different product types, which makes it very easy to find the specific product you want to localize. And we've also added search and a number of other things there, which we'll show in the demonstration today. So you essentially locate the specific product that you want to translate, you select it, and then you have the ability to request translation and put that into a Smartling job. Once the job's completed, again, we're going to redeliver those translations for that product back into Salesforce Commerce Cloud immediately. And from there, you'll be able to go and switch languages inside of Salesforce Commerce Cloud to see those translations. Let's talk a little bit more about the pages here, the content assets. In the content assets section, in here, these are essentially very similar to how products are created. They're just a set of fields that exist as you create these pages, and you can determine which fields you want to translate and which ones you don't. So the same kind of rules apply here as for products as they do for pages. And we have a way of going into our interface and sorting by library pages, which makes it easy for you to find, specific pages you're after. Again, search exists. You can also search by asset ID, which makes it very, very simple to find the exact one you're looking for. So some very good ways of locating the content and sending it. Lastly, we'll talk about categories. So on categories, you have the ability to create these categories and have the description field and kind of metadata fields about these categories. And they're very similar setup to, products and pages where you have the fields that you would like to configure. And essentially we translate all of that metadata on that category. So you can go in our interface, sort by categories, you can search by categories, various things. We've also, as categories are kind of like folders, a way of organizing content. We have a hierarchy inside of our interface that allows you to drill into each one of the categories as you have subcategories and things like that exist. And you can see a kind of a screenshot of our little breadcrumb here that shows you how, what level you're at and so forth. So we'll demonstrate that today in our demo. Let's kind of move forward here. So here we have a brand, kind of a basic site that we've set up, Salesforce Commerce Cloud environment. And you can see we have different sites here. And I'm going to go into this Ref Arch Global. And this Ref Arch Global is where we, essentially manage all of our products and all of our categories and basically all of our pages and stuff like that. So here in the Merchant Tools section, we're going to go and, we have the product catalogs that exist here. Pages will be inside of the content and so forth. So let's go into the products and catalogs. And I'm going to go into the product section. And in the product section here, you can basically do different types of filtering and search to find the list you want. And for today, let's go with our variation base products here, and we'll do a quick search on this. And what it's returned here towards the bottom is you'll see a list of all the base products that I have. We have a whole bunch of them listed. We're only seeing a handful here at the top. Specifically, the one I wanted to demo today was this washable wool classic straight skirt. So as you drill into this, you have information about this product. You have all the fields that you've created. Again, you can see the specific globes next to each field that we're going to localize. Sorry, these are the globes here. So we're going to translate the name field, the description field, the product details field, and you have your language swapper here. So we can go swap over to German, for example, and you can see that German doesn't have any existing content in those fields yet. So no translations have existed yet for this. And let's go back and swap to the default, which is English. And now let's say we want to translate this. So what we've provided inside of our platform, so I'm going to go into Smartling now. And in Smartling, you have the ability to have different projects that you have set up. And what I've done is navigated into the Salesforce Commerce Cloud test project. And you can see that we have tabs here specifically for Salesforce Commerce Cloud. That's how you know it's a Commerce Cloud project. But initially, we're just going to list all of the products that exist inside of there. And you can use our filtering mechanism. And this is the same filters that exist in Salesforce. So here we can actually use that same filter that we used in Salesforce to sort by variation base product. So as I do that, we'll refresh the screen and we'll see a list of all of our base products, and we can go through and select which ones we want to translate. And just to kind of show you a little bit more of the capability, if in Salesforce you have this ID that you have this specific ID. So let's copy that. And then inside of Smartling, you have this asset ID where you can paste this in, and then you can search by that specific one, and it will return the exact one we were looking for. Additionally, you don't have to use the asset ID. Let's just say you had a few words here you want to search by. So let's go washable wool, and here we get our product being returned, the one we want to translate. And this is simple to locate the one you're after. You can select the checkbox next to it, and you can see the translation status here. So this is not translated. So it's very good for us to know. We've never sent this for translation. If you had sent it, you can also resend it. So it's great to have the statuses there for you. And as you request translation, we're going to create a new Smartling job. And this allows us, once it's in a job, that's where we can apply a specific workflow. We can get analytics about the word count. We can basically see what type of translation memory matching we have on it, all of those wonderful good things. So let's create a new job here. You can also add to an existing job. So let's say you created an initial job with a handful of products, but then you realize you needed to add a few new ones that were created yesterday into the project or into the job. So you can go and you can also add to an existing job. So it's great to be able to add and continue work if you need to add to it. Here we have a list of assets that we've selected. So here's the product that we've selected. If there was more than one that we've selected, you would obviously see a longer list of these products. You can provide a description or like some special instructions for the linguists and the project management team here. So if you have special instructions, you would pass that along with that. And then let's go ahead and select the German language. That's what we're demoing today. And I'm going to select that, and we're going to save job and continue. And this will go and create the job in the Smartling jobs section. And this will return a handful of pieces of information. I don't have like translation memory and all of that hooked up in this demo, so we're not going to see a full set of analytics, but we'll see a word count and basically understand, what type of translations we're looking at here. So total source characters, total source words, weighted words, and all of that great information. It's nice here that the person doing the request can automatically apply a workflow and authorize the job. Or if it's a different person, let's say the person doing the request maybe is just a requester, they don't really have the ability to authorize the work. They can come in and say, let's save this for later. And what will happen is now a project manager will know that there's a new job inside of the Salesforce Commerce Cloud project. And you can see here, we've got this new job that's been created. And you can see it's awaiting authorization. So essentially we're ready to translate this, and I'm going to authorize it first. And that's where we apply our workflow. And for today, I'm just going to use machine translation to get a quick translation completed. And I'm going to confirm that. And now what you'll see is it authorizes the job, kicks off the workflow, sends the proper notifications out to the linguist for each step that's occurring. And then now you can see its translations occurring here. And so it just takes a few moments, but let's go ahead and look at the cat tool where the linguists actually work. And you can take a look at our context here. So we have visual context set up here, which is very important for our linguists to help them raise the quality, to make sure that they know exactly what they're translating, what does it look like on the website. And as they navigate through this, essentially you'll be taken to the new sets of strings that you're translating, they're highlighting. So this is wonderful. You also have all your translation memory matching in here, your glossaries, or terminology lists. You have your quality checks, issue management, all of that wonderful stuff here to be able to communicate on any issues that come up in the translation process with the linguists and be able to resolve those. So the translation is going to be finished now because we just did machine translation. So let's refresh this and go back in, and you can see it's completed here for the German language. It's important to note that that's the job status. The connector also has its own status if you go into this list field here. So let's again search for that wool product. I can't remember the first word. Washable wool here. So here's the base product. It also has a completed status, which means it's been finished and delivered back to Salesforce. So we should be expecting the translations to be there. I also wanted to highlight that we have some more additional, content details here when you drill in. So let's say you had, you requested 10 languages for this, and maybe only a couple of them were completed. You'd be able to see a full list of all the languages for this product, and you'd be able to understand which ones have already been, delivered, which ones are completed, which ones are still in progress. So really, specific details there as you need it. Now, the translation is completed. So let's go back into Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And in here, let's do a quick refresh of this product. And now let's go ahead and swap over to German, because that was the language that we requested. And we should be expecting these fields. Yeah, so the name field here has a translation ready for, the name, the description, the product details. All of that's been, fully localized and delivered back. A couple other things I wanted to note here is if you modify the translations after the delivery of the translations, so let's say, these translations exist now in Salesforce Commerce Cloud, but the translation team, decided they needed to make some changes to the description field. They can go back into the cat tool, make the changes there, and Smartling connector will automatically capture those and re-deliver them and publish them here to Salesforce Commerce Cloud automatically. So there's no need to do additional review processes and spreadsheets and keep track of your changes and try to communicate all that. It can just capture all of the additional changes and re-deliver them automatically, which is great to make sure you're always in sync. Lastly, I just wanted to show you a little bit on the other content types here. We've got a few minutes. Looking at library pages. So again, I mentioned we support the content asset library or pages. And as you go into the web, each of these folders, so you have the ability to create the library folders. And you can see we have this hierarchy here. So we've organized this content into separate, folders here, and you can drill into customer service. And you can basically see, here's a page here that exists. These folders aren't translatable. They're just more hierarchy, ways of storing content, but the pages here are. So that's why you have the little check mark here. So we can drill into terms and conditions. You can see the terms and conditions sale page, and we can translate all of that. It's the same exact process for library pages, categories, and all of the same things here. So we can take a look at categories. Again, we have a master catalog for electronics. This is not translatable. The catalog itself is not translatable, but inside of the catalog, you'll have categories. So we have this electronics category, and you can see they have the check mark here, and these are the items that we want to translate are these categories. So that being said, that's the demo. Let's stop there, and I think Michael has some questions probably for us from you guys, and if you guys have questions, feel free to type them into the Q&A section, and then we will go from there. So let's stop sharing. And I'll reshare the slides here if we can.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Stephen. That was a great kind of demo there. And, just starting off with the initial question here, what are the initial plans for any future upgrades or developments on the plugin? Is there anything planned short-term within the plugin itself, the connector?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So I mentioned that we don't support there's two types of pages. There's the content asset pages, which is the old way of creating those pages. But there's another way that Salesforce has come out with, which is called Page Designer. And as we were doing research for that, they don't have API support for those Page Designer pages. They have a manual export process, though. So you can go in and create this Salesforce Commerce Cloud job, and then you can process this job to export out a zip package with all of the pages that you've requested. And then you can take those pages and upload them to Smartling. You can translate them through the same job, process, and then you would download those pages. Well, the problem is they need you to name all of those pages a specific way and have them set up in a specific way before you import them back to Salesforce Commerce Cloud, or the job will fail when you're trying to import it and you won't be able to get them imported. And so what we've done is we've documented the way that you have to do it today with the export and the renaming and re-importing and stuff like that. So we have, a documentation link for all of that. But what we are looking to build here in the near future is, because we can't integrate with them, we still want to make it an easy process. So what we'll do is have a button where you can go and click. You can have this export from Salesforce, click this button, import it into Smartling. And then when we export it, we'll do all the renaming for you and all of the preparation work for you, so that you don't have to go in and afterwards and try to rechange all of that before you upload it. So it will work automated in some sense, but so it's not so manual in the traditional way that they have you do it.
Oh, that's great. That's certainly, one of the issues of trying to localize those pages is that whole format that really Salesforce kind of pushes you into in that naming scheme. So having that automated was going to obviously be a big help and advantage for those localization. So yeah, well, got one question, making the recording available after. Certainly we're going to actually make sure that this is shareable after as it goes through. We also have another question here. Can the integration be leveraged through the wider Salesforce architecture? So Marketing Cloud, and going through. And, maybe I can jump in on that. Sure. Certainly within Salesforce, we've actually got quite a few of the integrations and connectors already available. So whether that is, like you say, Marketing Cloud, being able to go in and localize all of your marketing material, those emails. We also obviously have knowledge integration with Salesforce as well. So we've got a whole bunch of those Salesforce connectors already available based on those customer requirements. So yeah, we've obviously got a whole bunch of integrations available directly there with Salesforce. So, please feel free to check out smartling.com. And a lot of those connectors are actually available there, and you'd see those listed. So I'll give you a good overview directly on the website as well.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so please feel free to throw in any other questions in there. One question actually I did have, and maybe I can throw this one out to you. I did see it in the demo where we're actually showing the Smartling translation status. So, with that, I'm guessing it'd actually be fairly easy to also filter on that and say, all content that hasn't been translated, say within a particular category or a particular product type, filter based on not translated and request all of those at the same time, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. So if you just want to go in and get a feel for, if you're in a specific folder for pages and you want to be able to translate anything that's not translated, you can quickly, have the Smartling status, which allows you to switch to not translated, and then it'll bring up a list of all those pages. You can, I only selected one at a time there, but you can also do a bulk selection where you select everything on your matching your filter, and then you can go and request translation for that entire set of content. So that's a great point, Michael. You can easily find the content that's not translated, put it in a big package, and kick it off all together at once.
That's great. And so it doesn't look like we've got any other questions coming in. Obviously, if anybody has any questions once they're kind of going through this recording, please feel free to reach out to us, ask those, follow up with us. We're always happy to answer any questions or even jump on some calls with customers that are interested in these kind of integrations.
Great. Thank you all for letting us speak with you and show you our new integration today. Very, very happy to bring it to the market. And if you have, as Michael mentioned, if you have any questions, let us know. So thank you all very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.